Hi, this is Pat Duckworth, the author of Hot Women Rock, How to Discover Your Midlife Entrepreneurial Mojo. And today, my guest is all the way from Phoenix, Arizona. She's an authentic, bold champion for women business owners. She's the founder of Doyenne Leadership Institute. Through her training and intensive, she helps women break through the glass ceilings they encounter in business by helping them build profitable and sustainable businesses. When it comes to sales, women come to her timid and shaky about going after the money. I think we know what that's like. But they leave her strategic, strong, emboldened, and most importantly, paid. She's the author of Leading Like a Lady, How to Shatter Your Inner Glass Ceiling. It's a huge welcome to Dr. Nadia Brown. Nadia, how are you?
I am wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Pat.
It's so lovely to see you. So I want to know a bit about, what was happening in your life before you got to this stage of being this expert on sales for women. How did your career start?
Oh boy. Honestly, I tell people I was not always a sales genius, and I became really good at sales because I had to. So I was in corporate America, decided that it was time for me to make a shift. I wanted to do something different, and I started my business. And in those early days, I was really focused on women in corporate America who were generally in more male-dominant type fields, because my early career was in IT and engineering. So I knew what it was like. Yeah, I knew what it was like to be a woman, to want to move up, to be in a leadership role, and then be like, what in the world? So that was where I got started. But one of the things that I realized while I was a great trainer and speaker and even eventually an author, I sucked at sales. And so things were horrible. I was on that roller coaster. I was in that feast or famine mode. And there just came that moment in my business when I was like, this is a hot mess. And, my bank account was beyond zero. It was bad. And so I had to have that come to Jesus meeting with myself and be like, Nadia, you have one of two options. One, you can just make a commitment to really hone this skill and build this muscle. Or you can just throw in a towel and go back and get a job. Like, that's just where it had gotten to. And so I decided to get a job temporarily. So I took a temporary position to bridge the gap for about 4 months. And I really just started to invest and just consume sales trainings. And so that began the journey of me making, that shift. And I went from hating sales, Pat, to loving it. I love sales. I love sales conversations. I love helping women to fall in love with sales, because by nature we can be chatty and very, very energetic. And so, but the thing is, we just have a very negative connotation and mindset around sales. Yeah. And because
why do you think that is?
I think a big thing is we think you have to be sleazy.
Yeah.
I just taught a training last night, and it was like, I feel like I have to be dishonest and manipulative and slimy. And I'm not that person. Like, I'm not a dishonest person. I'm a really nice girl. So, now how do I then transform into the sleaze bag in order to grow my business, right? And it's like, I don't want to do that. And so I think that's our biggest hang up.
Yeah. So, that whole icky feeling around selling, I don't know if this is common, but I find I can sell other people's products better than I can sell my own. So I get good service from somebody, or I have a good experience with somebody, I'll share it with 10 other people and they'll be rushing to buy that product. I'll go, oh yeah, you have to see this person. You have to get this. And I can sell brilliantly somebody else's product. Is that what you find with other women?
A lot of times, yes. And one of the biggest things is because that fear of rejection. And so it's not as personal if I'm selling Pat's product and you say no, because it's not really mine, right? But if you say no to my product or my offer, my program, then it's like, wait a second. And I jokingly say, did you just call my baby ugly? Like, it's like, it's personal, because it is in many ways, our business is like our babies. And so that it's hard sometimes to separate the two. And I think that's why it's easier to do it for someone else.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of the women that I talk to for these interviews are what's now come to be called heart-centered businesses. And there's just that feeling around heart-centered that it's not about the money. But of course, we can't live without the money.
I always say passion doesn't pay the bills.
No. So do you think that's a challenge for the heart-centered businesses, you know, the people for whom it's more of a service than a product?
I do. And I think sometimes, you know, even like when our gifts and our talents, so like healers, I see that a lot, or people that know some types of businesses, like how do I sell, if you will, my spiritual gifts?
Yeah.
And right. And so, and a lot of times there's also, and then you have that. So you're overcoming that and within yourself. And then a lot of times the conversations you're having with people, they expect some of that for free.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot, it can get really icky really fast.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you develop yourself in order to do this? Can you give us a few insights as to how you became this selling diva?
One, I took a lot of training. So I did trainings with a couple of different people. And I was clear that I didn't necessarily need coaching. In that moment, I really needed true trainings, just some of the how-tos. And through that, and so that was part of it, like just the skill in and of itself, how to get comfortable with it. And then to be able to, I did what maybe I would call like an internship. I don't know how to disguise it. It really was all by accident. I can't take credit for creating this on purpose, but I had the opportunity to do some sales support for clients. And it gave me the opportunity to really get out there and just do repetitive calls and have repetitive conversations, a lot of them in a condensed amount of time. So that's one of the things I teach clients, getting a lot of conversations in a condensed amount of time, because it helps you deal with the emotional parts of it too, as well.
Yeah, I listened in, confession time, I listened in on From Sleaze to Ease. And, you know, that whole thing of getting 100 no's.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why, you know, you just want people to practice and just get used to it?
Yeah, because it's one thing for me to say it. It's another thing for you to actually do it. And a lot of times, like we're in the middle of a challenge right now. And so what people do is when you're having those conversations, most clients, we don't ever really count to 100 no's, to be honest. So I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. And here's why, not because people don't do it, but we celebrate the yeses. Like my clients will say, oh, I made 25 calls, but we're so excited about the fact that you just got 3 new clients, right? And so we start to celebrate the yeses, because on that journey, you do get the yeses. And that's what it's us all about, is to really encourage people to face the monster head on and just get out there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm an NLP, neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, and I'm always saying to my clients, you know, there is no failure, there is only feedback. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time I'm working with that, you know, something goes wrong, it's feedback, that's fine. But when it comes to sales, is that no a failure or is it feedback? So yeah, getting used to it.
It's big time feedback. You know, one thing, because I did a talk last night where I talked about this whole journey to our yes, which I equated our yes to whatever our revenue goal was. And so instead of putting anyone on blast, I picked on Apple. That's a nice big target. And I was like, you know, I pulled some revenue numbers. And so it was a nice big one. It's like 47 billion for previous year's performance. But then I also found some statistics that in one particular quarter last year, there were 325 million Android phones sold versus 77 million iPhones.
Wow.
Huge difference, right? So I was like, that was 325 million no's. And yet Apple had 47 billion in profit. So it's not that and it looks different, but again, it's the same concept that no's, like you said, are feedback, and no's aren't detrimental. I was like, do you think Apple's really tripping over it? No, because they're doing just fine and they're clear on who they are. They're clear on their target market and their revenues look great. So it's a really good way to put things in perspective.
Yeah, lovely. So this is Pat Duckworth talking to Dr. Nadia Brown, and we're talking about that subject that's difficult for a lot of women, which is about selling with ease. And I'm really interested in your entrepreneurial journey, because one of the things that I talk about is the way that businesses evolve and some of the capabilities and resources that you need to build up as a new entrepreneur. So you've already said that you invested in yourself in getting some training around sales so that you could do it well. Was there anything else that when you set up as an entrepreneur, you had to master in order to have a successful business?
Oh my gosh. I think I had to master everything. But one of the bigger ones was, and honestly, this is what I'm still trying to master, is that mindset from being an employee, because I was in corporate for about 13 or so years, from being an employee and being told to have a very structured life versus being an entrepreneur and you're in charge of making decisions, and there's a lot of different things and it's a different mindset. So I think that one's, I'm always dealing with that one. And really just giving myself the space and the grace to grow my business, be exploratory. So to just kind of figure out what I want to do and what I want my business to look like. I feel like after being at this for about nearly 6 years, I finally know what I want to be when I grow up. But, I've given myself permission to try a number of different things. And I think sometimes we're just like, I have to get it right on the first try or it's all bad. And it's not. And you also grow and evolve. And so I had no idea that I would ever be a salesperson, a sales trainer like that. I didn't even see that. But through that hardship and going through that in my business, it was a gift to me. And now I get to help other women and I get such pleasure from doing that. And so sometimes what we would deem as a failure is really a gift.
Yeah, and a lot of the women that I talk to in this series talk about that evolution of their business. So it's not that they had a clear idea to start with, they put it into practice, everything went well, they're sitting back and having a good time. They've developed their ideas, they've developed their service, they've developed their product. They might even have gone at a 90-degree angle. They started doing one thing and then they moved into something else. And I'm just wondering if that's what it's been like for you. Have there been some really big shifts as you've been going along at this?
Absolutely. I tell people all the time when I speak that at one point, my vision for my business was that I would be a leadership coach. And I would spend most of my days in my yoga pants and t-shirt in my office, coaching women by phone and having a wildly successful business. That was my vision. And they look at me. I was like, I had no desire to be a speaker or any of this other stuff. And they're like, you what? But now that's not what I do. I do very little coaching, if any at all. I speak, I train, I travel all over the place. And it's very different. And so I think sometimes, like you said, we're like, it has to be this way. And a lot of times, especially for those of us who've been in corporate or academia or, formal education, we've been taught to do, be the good students and do what you're told. And part of us wanting to be an entrepreneur in some ways is a little rebellious. And so I've learned to embrace my inner rebel and be like, yep, that sounds great. I get it. I see it. That makes sense on paper. And yeah, I don't want to do it that way. And, being open to trying different things and still having support. Like I still have coaches and people there to support and guide me. I tell people I won't live long enough to make all the mistakes. So let me learn from yours. But I also give myself permission to, do some things that may be a little different or out of the box.
So how did you get into the public speaking? I love public speaking. My joke is, and I'll have to translate this into American for you, is that I would go to the opening of a packet of cookies to give a speech. Invite me and I'm there. But how did you find your speaker mojo?
I actually had a coach that I went to a 3-day event. And I was still very convinced that all I needed was the right marketing strategies to get my clients to stay hidden in my office. And she asked a question. I raised my hand. She ended up choosing me to go to the mic. I didn't want to go. But, you know, long story short, after she asked some more questions of me, she looked at me and she said, "You belong on stage." And I was like, no, I don't. But we ended up working together. And one of the first things she told me to do was to get out there and start speaking. And once I did, and like I got a taste of it, I was like, done.
Yeah, it's a difficult area again for a lot of women, that they don't like public speaking, and in fact they hold themselves back. I know women who won't go to networking events because they won't speak for a minute about their business. They won't stand up and do a minute. And certainly if they got the opportunity to do the 10-minute spotlight slot, they go, "No, I could never do that." Mm-hmm. And I help some of those women, you know, because they've got phobias about it. Because for me, you know, offer me a minute. Yep, I'm there. Can I have 2 minutes? Can I have a bit longer?
Know, right? I'll take your 10 minutes, please.
Yeah, I've done that. You know, I've actually said, "Can I have yours?" I've even, you know, when sometimes you go to networking and somebody hasn't turned up and somebody else is supposed to do their minute for them, but they're not sure what to say. I've done the minute for the other person.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, you know, I think we've got to encourage women as well as on the sales side with this speaker side.
Absolutely. And I've worked with some, because I've had people ask, like, you do a lot of speaking. How do I get out there? How do I really embody it? So I have worked with some people, or a lot of times it's just more informal sharing that. But it is really big for us to harness the power of our voice. And that's what it really boils down to.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give a shout out to Tonya Hoffman, who runs the Public Speakers Association, because I'm coming to Las Vegas next weekend to speak at the Public Speakers Association. So yeah, it's really exciting. And, you know, she gives you opportunities to speak. Or there's a lot in America and Canada, but I'm always looking for those opportunities, because the more you do it and the more, I like to get the fun out of it. You know, if I can have a laugh on stage, I'm gonna be happy.
Absolutely, I agree. And Tonya is amazing.
Yes, yeah, and yeah, she's very good at kind of getting people in with her and helping them, and she always sort of stays at the events so you can get a chance to have a chat with her. So yeah, awesome. Big shout out for Tonya.
Yes, we love you, Tonya.
So Nadia, the women watching this, or even some of the men, I don't know, do you coach men as well?
Right now, I am not doing coaching. I am helping. I do team training. I help people build their sales team, or my team can do sales for you, but I have transitioned out of coaching for now.
Okay. So for the women who are watching, if they want to find out more about your programs or they want to contact you, how do they do that?
They can visit me on my website at DoyenneLeadership.com.
Excellent. And you're doing online training, aren't you, with through that?
I am. So like I said, right now we're doing a 30-day revenue challenge. There'll be some other things that I do just to help people get, you know, comfortable with it and really just learning that sales process. But the biggest thing is practice, practice, practice.
Get those no's and celebrate the yeses. That's where we are.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Dr. Nadia. It's just been so much fun, and hopefully I'll get along to see you speak sometime.
Yes, I would love that.
I think we could have a laugh together.
I agree.
So to all our viewers, thank you very much for watching, and keep watching out for more of these really informative interviews with amazing entrepreneurs. There's always something more to learn. So see you next time.